This is WorkSpan TV. I'm Ryan Johnson. We have a case study today of On Semiconductor, and I'm joined by Michelle Demetrius, who's with On Semiconductor. We're going to talk about compensation and benefits in a very active M&A environment. Let's just tee that up, Michelle. How many mergers and acquisitions have occurred at On in the last few years? How many employees have you got now? And what's your operation look like today?
All right. Well, On Semiconductor has approximately 19,000 employees now in 27 different countries. And since its inception in 1999, we have had 10 acquisitions. And I've been there since 2005, and I've experienced 8 of those. So we have grown significantly in the short time that I've been there.
So from the compensation and benefits perspective, obviously that's what we're talking about here. Let's just go through some of the due diligence process that you've gone through in all of these mergers and acquisition situations. Why don't you just start at the top?
Our due diligence takes on the flavor of both due diligence, project management, and change management, since we're an HR organization. And we don't involve just HR in those. We obviously reach out to IT, we're reaching out to finance, security, legal, and our business units, because we don't make our decisions on compensation and benefits and employee retention in a vacuum. We want to make sure that all of the important people that are decision makers are helping us make those particular decisions. But for the human resources function, to drill down a little bit, we have established a Gantt chart template that has all of the items that we believe we would need to gather and know, make decisions on, and take action on during implementation of an acquisition. And we either add or subtract items from that particular Gantt chart depending on the complexity of an acquisition. So if it's a simple acquisition, though no acquisition is simple, but if it's just, for example, a U.S. acquisition, we would probably delete a whole bunch of items off of there. If it's a more complex acquisition with multiple countries, we're going to make sure we keep everything on there, and we may, each acquisition, learn something new that we need to add to that particular template because it's a new situation that we haven't gone through before. When we're looking specifically at compensation and benefits, we have other templates that we've established for that as well. So if we already exist in a particular country, we have a template where we can compare the current benefits that we're offering in that country to the benefits that the newly acquired people are being offered in their particular country, and see, do we have common benefits? Do we have very different benefits? Which ones do we feel are going to be the ones that we want to focus on? Are we willing to change them? Do we want to take On's benefits and change to the acquired company's benefits? So we have this very detailed template that we know our starting point. In due diligence, you have to ask a lot of questions in the comp and benefits arena. When you're reaching out to the acquired company, it depends on the level of knowledge the person has with acquisitions that you're speaking to, how many times you have to reach out for your data, because you're going to be asking for contracts, you're going to be asking for pension valuations, you're going to be asking for benefit plans, and do they have a change of control in them? Can I change that contract, or do I have to stay with that benefit plan until the end of the contract period? If you have someone familiar with an acquisition, they're going to immediately start handing you documents because they know what you need. And they'll probably hand you, if you were asking me, I'm going to hand you way more than you need, because I want you to have every contract I have, every summary plan description I have, all of our 401k background, why we have it, it's a safe harbor plan, all those things that we know in the U.S., and add that complexity for each different country. But if you're dealing with someone that this is the first time they've been acquired, you're going to have to go back to them multiple times asking questions, because while they're trying to be helpful, they may not realize all the pieces that you need to make your decisions. So for example, one of the countries where we have an acquisition, we give a rice benefit. I consider that a benefit. They might consider that compensation. So when I go out and ask for pieces of benefits, they may not speak to me about that rice because they consider that compensation. So it's where you classify that. Is that a benefit? Is that a comp? And if you don't ask the right person, it gets totally missed. And you don't know that that's out there as a benefit. And then they're afraid you're going to take it away, because then when you come back with your list of everything that you're offering in terms of compensation and benefits, you don't have rice on there because you didn't even know it existed. So you have to be very, very careful to ask multiple times to make sure that you know everything that is happening in a country. And then when you're making your decisions regarding that, you have to know why they're offering that in a country. Don't just make an assumption that, okay, so you have base pay and you have these 3 different allowances. Let's just roll all of those allowances into base pay. It's simpler for the pay structure, it's easier to understand, etc. What you don't know is those allowances might have more favorable taxation. So it might be more favorable to the employee to get it taxed that way. It might be more favorable to the company. But you need to ask why it's done as an allowance rather than done as base pay before you just make an arbitrary decision to roll something into base pay. A good example of that is India. When you go into India, probably 50% of what you and I would consider base pay is paid in allowances because of the favorable tax status.